I think so. Should we jump into North Korea?
So the latest thing that North Korea has accused Donald Trump of being is a senile old man who plays too much golf.
Wow. When did they say that?
Just very recently, like this afternoon.
I mean, so, I disagree with North Korea on a lot of things, but can we really dispute that Donald Trump plays too much golf?
It was reported in Newsweek.
So I think that, like, this episode, I mean, I've been telling you guys about this, but...
Hold on.
Go ahead.
Do you think that, back to the North Korea golf senile old man, do you think that he is senile because he plays too much golf?
No, definitely not.
Or he plays too much golf because he's senile? Or those are just two independent things that North Korea was accusing Donald Trump of, unrelated to each other, except that they're in the same sentence?
I think those are two independent things that are unrelated to each other.
I don't know, man. I think we need an investigation.
Maybe there's like a committee or a special commission.
If you hear this and you want to investigate the relationship between senility and too much golf in our
and
president,
Donald Trump. We don't need this to be
our president.
Yeah, we don't need this to be some sort of broad study on senility and golf. That's completely unnecessary.
Did AJ leave?
Really?
Guys.
He's here.
He didn't leave.
I renewed my vehicle registration.
Congratulations.
Like right this second.
Oh, online. Wonderful. So are you guys ready? Are you guys ready to talk about North Korea?
So what do you know about North Korea, Ruch?
Okay, so here's the thing. A few years ago, Kim Jong-un released a list of or actually, it was more of a video of him pointing at a map and saying, these are the places in America that I would like to nuke. And so if anybody's seen this Jon Stewart skit, then they know what happens here. But he named kind of the predictable cities that he would like to nuke, like New York City, Washington, D.C.,
Spokane.
Interestingly, he didn't name any cities. No cities in the real America, which figure that out.
Duluth?
No, not Iowa or Minnesota. Duluth, Minnesota is supposed to be a very nice place. Tom and I have been to Duluth, Iowa.
Montpelier.
Too many communists there. I think he would be okay with Montpelier.
Bismarck.
No. But Los Angeles. And then he named Austin. And so Austin's on the list, guys. It's on the list of cities that Kim Jong-un wants to nuke. And so I thought what we would do today
Bowling Green
is talk to Kim Jong-un directly. Okay? So this episode is for Kim Jong-un, not like in his honor or anything like that, but it's for him to listen to. And if our other listeners enjoy it and they happen to know someone that knows Kim Jong-un or knows Kim Jong-un directly perhaps, I want you to share this episode with him. So this is kind of our open invite to Kim Jong-un to come to Austin without the nuclear weapons, ideally without any weapons at all, and just come experience the city with us.
Chattanooga.
Me, Tom, and AJ we're gonna take you out on the town, Kim. Like, we're gonna show you that this is a city you don't want to nuke. America's a country that, really is we're a great country, not as great as we're gonna be under Donald Trump, obviously, but still a great country.
Midland, Odessa.
No, dude. He doesn't want to mess with those places.
They got the guns.
They do. So
Reno.
I mean, I thought we would give him a bunch of good reasons why it's just a good idea to have peace between our peoples. You know what I mean? Because I feel like he's not getting that peace between our peoples message from other people in America.
Springfield.
Can I tell you a fun fact about the Kim Jong-un wanting to nuke Austin?
Yeah, I mean, if there's anything fun about that, yeah.
It started a Twitter hashtag called Why Austin.
Oh, yeah, I remember this. This was back when I was still using Twitter.
Yeah. And then folks were like tweeting out things like, Only a town full of hipsters would respond to a bomb threat with a hashtag.
So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, our listeners are probably following what is happening in North Korea and with North Korea. But should we sort of remind them about sort of where we are and what's happened in the last couple of days? And also, I should say that the last time we did an episode on a really important issue, the episode ended up being meaningless. Remember everything we know about Bikra?
To be fair, everything is meaningless.
And in this case, this episode being meaningless is useful. That means we haven't entered into a global nuclear war with a country halfway across the world.
That's true, too.
Guys, if this podcast has shown up in your podcast player, that means we're not in the middle of a nuclear war. I promise not to release this episode during a nuclear war.
I don't know, dude. I think you should release this episode regardless. And especially if we can get it in Kim Jong-un's hands.
Mount Vernon.
You could maybe email it to him.
Yeah. Do you think does anybody know Dennis Rodman?
No.
Oh. Well, Dennis Rodman knows Kim Jong-un, so maybe they can get him this episode. So
do you
here's
think
the deal.
Dennis Rodman and Kim Jong-un emailed each other?
Why not?
I don't know. It seems like a...
Lafayette.
They're having like they seem to be bros. So, I mean,
they're bras.
You and I email each other, maybe they have a Slack group,
San Diego.
I think San Diego may be on the list. I'm not sure.
All right. What do we want to talk about? Is this the show? Have we been doing the show this whole time? Because that would be very disappointing to me.
No. We've definitely been doing the show.
And you got to edit it, AJ.
Has this really been the show?
Yeah, we've been talking about how Kim Jong-un needs to not nuke anybody. Okay, and
wait. When you're saying he needs to not nuke anybody, do you mean he also can't nuke Eugene, Oregon?
Yes, just absolutely no one. Do not explode any more nuclear weapons.
Wait, Ruch, I got another one. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Corvallis.
Where?
That's in Oregon.
No, it's in Washington, isn't it?
Washington, Oregon. What's the difference?
Wait, is it?
Yeah. You guys want to talk about the Google memo or not?
Okay. Oh,
I don't want to
Corvallis
talk
is in
about
Oregon,
the
Tom.
Google memo.
Tom, remember when you said that Corvallis was in Washington and I said it was in Oregon? Well, you were wrong. It's in Oregon.
No, I said it was in Oregon.
Well,
Yeah.
we'll just have to check the tape.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tom said Oregon. I'm
check the
pretty
tape.
sure. Yeah. This is how nuclear wars start.
I'm going to rain down fire and fury on Ruchit if he does not stop these threats.
Yeah. I know how I feel about the process Trump has used to come at his decisions because I think it's bad. Obviously, one should consult one's advisors. One should be very careful about the words one uses, especially when dealing with someone that, might start a nuclear war. But how do you guys feel about what he's actually done?
About North Korea?
Yeah. How do you feel about the threats that he's issued over the last 2 days?
Oh, you consider that action?
Well, I mean, there is no action other than... there's only two ways one can have quote-unquote action in this situation. One is war of words or words of peace, I suppose. Words of any kind. And then the second is actually firing bullets, missiles, and...
You know what Obama would have done? He wouldn't have said shit.
Yeah, I think that's what he did do.
The backdrop to this entire North Korea saga is that one of the crucial pieces of information that Obama left Donald Trump with when they were transitioning was that North Korea is going to be your biggest problem and you need to deal with it.
He's been right about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Obama's been absolutely right about that. But what do you guys think about the posture that Trump has adopted, right? So no world leader has ever adopted a posture like this in this situation. No world leader has ever adopted a posture like this with North Korea, certainly. One that was this aggressive.
Evansville.
Yeah. The problem is that I don't think it's a purposeful posture.
That's what I mean. His process is definitely wrong.
Yeah, but more importantly, I don't think that when it comes to foreign policy, Donald Trump has not been a man of his word, right? Take an example, like the very first promise he made, Mexico will pay for the wall.
Yeah.
Right?
Remember when he promised not to touch that orb in Saudi Arabia?
I don't think I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't remember that promise.
But so he makes this huge promise, says it at every campaign speech, makes a big deal of it. When he goes to Mexico to meet the president of Mexico, he doesn't even bring it up the first time. When he goes as president, he tells him, remember the leaked transcripts? He tells him, hey, that's not a big deal. You just can't say it because it's politically for me. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
When you're dealing with people you don't know, you have to say what you mean, or they're not going to believe you the next time you're serious. Can I tell you about the story of this boy who cried wolf?
Can I tell you about the story of this president that constantly threatened every country in the world, including allies and enemies?
Yeah, I mean, he's no one. You're not going to believe him, and I think there have been. I do recall somebody talking about this. Maybe it was in the Slack, but because you're not going to believe him, it makes the situation that much more dangerous. Because North Korea is just going to push and push and push until it gets to some breaking point that we have no idea, and Donald Trump is going to react with warfare.
I'm trying to think. I mean. So in the history books, you read about how like Mao kind of used these types of negotiating tactics to get what he wanted, right? Where he would be as unpredictable as possible. He'd like say things and then do them sometimes, say things and not do them other times. He would joke about how, if the United States wanted a nuclear war, like he was ready for a nuclear war. And he, in fact, would love a nuclear war because that would like, at least make life a little bit easier for him in terms of reforming the government. and he said, listen, there's no problem. Like, there's 300 million of us or however many there were of the Chinese at the time. And he said, we'll just flee to the villages. Like, we'll flee to the forests. Like, we've lived through tough times before. It's no big deal. We'll do it. You can't kill every last one of us. So yeah, let's have a nuclear war. And he would say these things and people didn't know if he was serious, if he was engaging in bravado. And now I think the difference here is that Mao was dealing with rational actors. So, if he was saying this to Kennedy or not to Kennedy, but if he was saying this to like, Kennedy or Nixon or Eisenhower, at least those people were rational. In this situation, Trump being unpredictable with someone who's equally unpredictable may not get him very far. I don't know.
It's tough, dude.
Yeah, I mean, I've read a lot of articles about how there's really no solution to this problem. And I think one of the wise things North Korea sort of did for itself is actually develop nuclear weapons, right? Because that if they didn't have nuclear weapons right now, they'd end up like Gaddafi, or like Saddam Hussein. And that's sadly like one of the things that they did that was to their benefit. But like, what's your best case? Like, I mean, what can you give Kim Jong-un to basically lay down his arms, right? So like, Trump is not offering anything. What are you guys offering? Personally, obviously.
Considering taking a visit to Austin off the table.
Indianapolis.
You're going to give him, AJ, do you want him to start a war? You're going to offer him Indianapolis? Like that's your peace offering?
I wonder what Indianapolis is like.
So
I've never been there.
What's the actual news here? So let's say someone is listening to this show and they wanted to find out something about the world that they didn't know. Like what is the news here that Trump's like what is the angle? Is the angle that Trump is an idiot, or is the angle that nuclear weapons are bad, or is the angle that this is Bush's fault for breaking off for the deteriorating diplomatic relationship with North Korea? Like what's the takeaway here? Like what am I supposed to think now that I know the things that I know?
Well, I think you're supposed to think that this is one of the most complicated situations in the world. And
well, I think what you'll find is that it's very easy that China will just take care of it.
Well, they obviously haven't yet. But I wonder also if this is part of Trump's game, is that maybe he knows that, if he can be really unpredictable, it will cause China to solve this problem. Because maybe it's not North Korea he's trying to scare. Maybe it's China he's trying to scare.
You think that there's any sort of method to any of this? Like, you really think that he actually, like, has thought of something in particular?
You know, I don't, but I'm trying to, let's just say for a second, if he was, what would be the game that he was playing, right? Like, let's try and think about, like, what is, if we just assume, which is a big assumption, for a moment that there is something going on in Trump's head that resembles strategy. What's the strategy that he's using?
There's no, this is ridiculous. This is like a ridiculous thought experiment. There's no strategy.
I mean, I don't know.
All the news reports are that all of Trump's advisors were stunned. They had no forewarning about the statement on North Korea. The paper he was looking at when he was pretending to be, you know, like really, really considering his notes was a statement, was like a fact sheet on the opioid problem. Like, there's no strategy here. Like, trying to this out as though, trying to game this out as though there are like rational actors are involved, or as though this is like a real or normal situation, or just like, you know, treating it like some sort of event, like, oh, like Bernie got 40% in New Hampshire. I wonder what that means for Hillary. Like, no, like, this is ridiculous. It's ridiculous to treat this like it is anywhere approaching a normal situation that you can use normal logic or say that someone has a strategy. It's just crazy. It's just crazy. Like, it's crazy punditry, claptrap. It is falling back on habit and rote instead of actually thinking about the situation. This is ridiculous.
Well, hold on a second. You know, so the very same like press folks that are saying that Trump didn't tell us what he was going to say, were also saying that he told us he was thinking about saying X and Y, and that this is sort of consistent with what he was thinking about saying. Like, so, you know, you may not like the strategy. You might think it's a dumb strategy.
Oh my God,
but there may be a strategy here. There
may be a strategy here. We should make a podcast about the possibility that Trump has some strategy. We should game out the strategy just in case Trump might have some strategy somewhere.
Well, I think it's helpful to sort of try and understand what it could be. I mean, yeah, it is.
Okay, I've understood what it could be. There's no strategy.
I mean, that's your opinion.
Tom, what do you think?
I think AJ's upset.
I think so too.
It's just stupid. It's ridiculous to try to ascribe rational motives to this situation. I think that it rationalizes away the total absurdity of the situation. Right? You can apply pre-2016 logic to any of the things that have happened in the last month. That whole idea is just totally crazy. To sit here and game out like, oh, this is this, and here are the chess pawns, and to pretend that, one, we have like any sort of background or knowledge of foreign policy, but two, to pretend that Trump has any sort of background or knowledge of foreign policy. Both of those are ridiculous.
But isn't the first the justification for us predicting the second?
Yeah, I don't care. What did you just say?
No. Hold on. I'm not whether Trump has knowledge of foreign policy or not. I agree that he does not mean that he can't come at this with a strategy, right? I mean,
God,
just because it's wrong or it's ill-informed. I mean, there are ill-informed strategies, and sometimes these ill-informed strategies work. I mean, I guess what will you say? Let's just say this does work, right? Let's say this brings.
Okay, that's a great question. Let's say this does work. What does success look like? Visualize success and work backwards from there. What does success look like?
Sure. I think success in my mind here is that North Korea agrees to negotiate. That's success, I think. I don't think success is they give up their nuclear weapons program, because I don't think they're going to do that. I mean, that would be an extreme success, right? If like somehow Kim Jong-un like flew to the United States, you know, and instead of meeting us in Austin, went to like meet Trump in D.C. Or New Jersey for that matter, and said, you know what, I'm taking the aid. I'm taking the promise of many Trump international hotels in Pyongyang. I don't think that's going to happen, but I could see them agreeing to talks, which is something that they haven't been willing to agree to. And maybe this pushes. I mean, look, I think it's a bad gamble, because I think it's an extremely high risk. But I mean, what do you do if you're Trump in this situation? I guess North Korea continues to build, you know, to develop its capabilities. Like, what do you really do? Like, let's just say you're the most brilliant person in the world and the most strategic person in the world when it comes to foreign policy. What do you do?
I'm not that. I don't know what I would do. I know extraordinarily little about foreign policy.
Well, I think when you read like what other foreign policy scholars and foreign policy experts are saying, they're kind of all universally saying, like, it's not clear what one should do. Like, it's not clear that there's anything you can do. other than like, because number one, we can't accept a nuclear North Korea that can hit the United States. Like, do you agree with that? Can we as a nation accept that?
Isn't that already the case?
I mean, we accept all sorts of other nuclear countries that can hit the United States.
Okay, so is the answer yes, or what is it?
The answer is I don't know. We accept other countries.
I think it might already be the case that North Korea can reach as far as like New Mexico.
Well, with missiles, not with a nuclear missile.
Oh.
Yeah, they can. Yeah, they can launch missiles and likely hit the western or even the middle of the United States, but not a nuclear missile yet. I'm just saying, like, if they get to that level, or if you continue letting them, and the other thing is they're making progress at a much faster rate than any of our experts thought.
Yeah, dude, they got the internet.
I mean, this is what happens when you cancel somebody's Netflix, right? So we canceled Kim Jong-un's Netflix, and instead of watching movies, he's spending all of his time, developing nuclear weapons. Could we just give this man his movies back? Oh, by the way, that's another offer. Kim, if you're listening to this and you agree to put down your nuclear weapons, or at least talk about putting them down, Tom is going to pay for your Netflix subscription for life.
Dude.
For life,
ain't paying for
shit. Free, Tom's paying.
Ain't paying for shit.
And if he falls by the wayside for some reason, AJ's paying. All with good, steady jobs.
I think AJ left the podcast.
This is ridiculous.
I mean, you could say it's ridiculous all day, but I'm saying, like, what do you do? Like, what do you do in this situation?
No, it's just unfathomable to me that any reasonable person would have any reaction beyond mute horror.
Well, I mean, if you have to make a decision, you have to do stuff. You can't just sit there like in horror, can you?
No, I can just sit in mute horror. I don't have to do anything.
I think that's the point, but we're talking about what should leaders do in this type of situation, since we're certainly criticizing what a leader is doing. We're not wrong to make that criticism, by the way. I'm just saying that, like, we're going to criticize it, so maybe we should think about what would be a better thing to do. And I think that's part of the point, is that it's not clear that there's anything better you can do.
Is the point there's nothing better you can do, therefore you should antagonize North Korea?
No, I don't think that's it. I'm saying maybe Trump isn't as crazy as it seems here. Like, maybe that's what I'm saying.
I don't think that's a plausible.
That he's not as crazy as he seems?
I think he's just as crazy as he seems.
I do wonder what will happen if he somehow gets North Korea to the negotiating table and he's used this, like, very, very bad process to get himself there, and what that will teach him.
Other than Donald Trump saying he's a great negotiator, what evidence do you have that he's a great negotiator?
Oh, his bankruptcies in the 90s, in the 80s and the 90s. He convinced, like, his banks, his creditors, to, like, let him keep most of his companies, most of his assets, and to pay him, like, crazy stipends. Like, I think he got paid like a $300,000 a month stipend to, like, manage his businesses in bankruptcy. Like, he convinced them that there was no one other than him that could possibly run these casinos, despite the fact that he ran those casinos into the ground.
I don't know if I buy the bankruptcy negotiation as evidence.
I mean, it's an example of him, negotiating pretty well, getting something way more than he deserves.
But I wonder how much of that is just him being a giant corporation.
He wasn't really a giant corporation.
How far does that deviate from the benefits that corporations get all the time?
I mean, typically management gets fired, the owners get zero, and the person that ran the company into the ground does not get to continue running the company, let alone get paid like $300K a month to run the company.
Yeah, dude, golden parachutes are definitely not a thing in our society.
But that's not how bankruptcies work, right? Like, in bankruptcies, the creditors own the company, and they appoint a manager, someone to run the company, and they pay that manager, a decent amount, but they definitely don't hire the guy who ran the damn thing into the ground to be the manager.
I don't think that's true that creditors own the company in bankruptcy.
What does this have to do with anything?
It's totally on point. Read North Korea.
This is a really, really shitty situation. And I'm not saying what Trump did here is right, but I am saying that, like, I don't know what else one can do. I mean, I don't know if, like, staying quiet would work. I presume, like, working with our allies, which, we did get a Security Council resolution. We did get sanctions, that were approved by the UN. And normally China and Russia would either abstain or would actually vote no, and they actually voted yes. In fact, like, Michael McFaul, who was the U.S. ambassador to Russia under Obama, he called it like a legitimate foreign policy victory. Like, he said they should be very happy with themselves.
Yeah, actually, I agree with that. I mean, as far as I know, the sanctions on North Korea being unanimous in the UN Security Council is actually
that's a big achievement.
Genuinely an achievement. It's not clear to me that the sanctions are a good idea or a bad idea. It seems to me that they're going to cause untold human suffering, and that it would
as sanctions normally do,
difficult for that human suffering to be worth it. I mean, you'd have to really get something for it to have been worth it. But getting that through the UN Security Council definitely is more. It is impressive, not because it's particularly good or particularly bad, but just because it is a difficult thing to do. Like, they actually achieve something that is difficult.
Yeah, true.
Oh, here's something interesting. Sorry to divert from our North Korea topic. So,
no, please do.
AJ would like to talk about anything other than North Korea.
The U.S. attorneys release a bulletin, which is basically a newsletter that the U.S. Attorney's Office in DOJ publishes, right? And one of the most recent U.S. Attorney bulletins had an article, and let me just pull it up. AJ, please feel free to edit this.
I'm not going to edit this. Everyone has to listen to you pulling this up.
Okay. So they most recently released a bulletin in July of this year with an introduction by Jeff Sessions, the Attorney General. But the first article in the second article in this newsletter is Civil Denaturalization, Safeguarding the Integrity of the United States Citizenship. So in it, they have such statements like, civil denaturalization will play a prominent role in securing the integrity of our immigration system.
You think it won't?
Maybe it will. What's interesting? So it's just an article in this, which is basically like this newsletter to U.S. attorneys, describing how the process of prosecuting someone and taking someone's citizenship away. The different the reasons that you can do so, things like that.
So here's the thing about that newsletter that actually sort of blew my mind. It doesn't even mention the latest Supreme Court case.
Nope, it does not.
The one about how the DOJ tried to take away someone's citizenship and the Supreme Court said no thank you. Yes,
it does not. But it does say if you manage to take away a defendant's citizenship, you can, as a matter of law, take away that citizen's spouse or children who obtained citizenship on a derivative basis.
It seems harsh.
So So I received my citizenship because of my parents. I'm a derivative of my parents' citizenship when I was little. And if they denaturalize my parents, they could automatically denaturalize me.
Well, maybe they should, Tom. So what do you want to talk about? Are we going to talk about anything this episode?
We've talked about North Korea. We've talked a little bit more about civil immigration enforcement and the Office of Immigration Litigation.
I find this North Korea thing deeply upsetting. I find trying to analyze it like it's some political event, like it's some Supreme Court nominee or some primary in a presidential election. To me, it's just nuts. To me, it's just craziness. It's just absolute craziness to try to analyze this as though it's some normal event that can be contextualized. I'm really having trouble with this. I'm really having trouble accepting the things that have happened so far on the show.
On the show or in the country?
Yeah.
It's a tough life you lead, AJ.
I don't know. I mean, I'm very upset. I think Ruchit's probably mad.
Is Ruchit still on?
I don't know.
He left, dude.
Wait, Ruch, did you leave?
Oh, no, he's saying I can't hear.
Oh.
Or we can't hear you.
Okay, so in response to what AJ was saying, how do you propose we analyze this North Korea situation?
I don't think you can. I don't think it is.
So should we just ignore it? Should we not even try and analyze it? What should we do?
I am a strong proponent of laying on the floor and waiting to die.
Tom has been giving that advice for years, and AJ's saying it may finally be appropriate.
Yeah.
I mean, I just I don't know why people just put on their default pundit hats. I wonder how voters in the Midwest are going to react to this one. It's totally to me, it's just craziness. Like, why isn't anyone just like sitting back and just like really contemplating the nature of existence? Like how do people keep talking about these things as though they're normal? That ordinary human minds can comprehend these events.
I mean, hold on a second. Nobody's saying that it's normal, but should we not at least try to comprehend it? I mean,
no.
Okay, what should we do?
I honestly don't know.
Okay, well, that's fair.
Right? Isn't like why aren't more people more upset?
I mean, I think we are upset, aren't we? I mean,
are you?
Yeah, I am upset. I mean, I think like I'm not upset with. Here's the thing: I'm upset with like Kim Jong-un. I'm like a little bit upset with Trump, but I'm not like massively upset with Trump. And I guess maybe also my expectations for Trump are really low, but so maybe that's part of the issue.
Maybe that's why people are not upset.
That could be why people are not upset. But I think this is one of those things where it's when you get really, really existential, it becomes hard for people to even comprehend, right? And so it's sort of like running up to a person and saying, dude, why aren't you thinking about the fact that you could die tomorrow, right? Like, do you understand that could happen? You know, like, why aren't you thinking about that? Go hug your children. I'm just saying it may be too... Are you asking, hold on a second, are you asking why aren't more people like upset about what Trump is doing, or are you asking about why aren't more people upset about the situation?
No, I'm asking why aren't more people just like flabbergasted? Like why do so many people have so many things to say? And why is it that the things that they have to say just fall back on like old shitty Chris Eliza, the fix tropes? Like why is there like, you know what I mean?
I don't think that's what people are doing, dude. Like I think there's a lot of like very good articles talking about the very complicated situation that we're in, how there's not too much that we can do, and analyzing the different sort of approaches that historically have been taken in North Korea, how none of them have worked. Like, I don't know what you find so objectionable about that.
I mean, I just like, I don't know. To me, the situation is like much more existential, right? Like I don't understand how people like.
It is very existential, and I'm trying to say that like when something is this existential, you know, you have like a few options. One of them is to just like straight up ignore it. Two, it's to sort of throw up your hands and be like, well, there's nothing we can do about it. And I'm just really, really upset right now. And then number three is try and find some mode through which you can analyze it. And, you know, analyze doesn't mean rationalize, by the way.
I don't know. You want to talk about this Google memo?
I really don't want to talk about the Google memo.
Yeah, good. Me neither. Tom, can you talk about the Google memo? Neither of us wants to do it.
I mean, I guess I could just read to you what we all wrote in the Slack.
Wait, hey, didn't you have a good article about half of Republicans?
Oh, yeah. So there was a recent poll done polling Americans in general, but particularly Republicans who voted in the last election or whatnot. And the poll found that half of Republicans say that they would support postponing the 2020 election if Trump proposed the idea. So if Trump were to tweet out that, you know, I think there's a lot of voter fraud, millions of people voting that they shouldn't be voting, and I think we should postpone the 2020 election until we can get to the bottom of the voter fraud, then the poll says half of Republicans support that idea. And that is bad.
So what do you think it means? Is it like a takeaway? I thought this was like very interesting. I didn't click on the article, though. I did read the headline.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll tell you sort of my takeaway. I think there are two takeaways, and maybe they're both true. One is that and it would be interesting to know like what percentage of Democrats would have thought that if Barack Obama had proposed it, right?
So, okay, hold on there. Right?
No. Let me explain why that's important to understand.
Let me ask you a question about that.
Sure.
How is Barack Obama equivalent to Donald Trump in this scenario?
So, what I'm trying to gauge is what percentage, how strong is the partisanship in either party such that the desire for their preferred candidate to remain in power.
I understand that.
Overrules constitutional norms.
I understand that, Ruchit, but so in order to do a controlled experiment, right, you have to limit the number of variables that they could be choosing over, right? Like in this scenario, like if you're asking the question, well, if Donald Trump said postpone the 2020 election versus Barack Obama saying postpone the 2020 election, right?
Or rather the 2012
or whatever, right? Yeah, something comparable, right? One person is drastically different than the other person, right? One person is some sort of psychotic sociopath that is trying to...
Don't talk about Barack Obama that way, dude. Don't talk about Barack Obama that way.
To pick a fight with North Korea, right? And the other person is a sane human being, okay? So, you know... If your choices are between those two people, maybe you would choose Barack Obama being the one to defer the election, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just...
No.
I think your test doesn't test for the thing that you're looking for, right? I think maybe a more appropriate question might be, well, if George W. Bush... Well, I don't even know if who was the last, like, sane Republican...
I mean, George W. Bush was a sane Republican, dude.
Actually, HW. I would grant that HW was the last sane Republican.
So a comparable sort of test would be HW. If HW said postpone the election, and William Clinton said postpone the next election, right? Like, there you can test, okay, what is the partisanship levels here, right? But like comparing Barack Obama to Donald Trump,
But that's not what I'm doing. I'm merely saying that both are president, both have partisan bases, and so what we're trying to assess.
Hold on. Because you're equating Barack Obama's base, Barack Obama, to Donald Trump, and I'm saying Donald Trump is such an outlier. The fact that you're putting him in the formula itself creates a flaw in the test.
No, dude.
Yeah.
No. Hold on. I wouldn't. So here's how you would do it, right? I mean, you can't do this test, so it's sort of irrelevant. But like, you know, the test would be in 2012. You ask a bunch of Democrats, what percentage of you would be okay, or in 2011 you ask, or 2009, whatever the case would be, right? You would ask, what percentage of you would be okay if, you know, Barack Obama said, listen, you know, we're going to postpone.
I understand the premise, dude. Like,
right?
No,
I don't think you do.
I do.
And then compare that. Then let me finish it. So that's one question that you would ask. Then you would ask in 2017 to only Republicans. I'm not asking Democrats or Republicans to prefer one or the other.
Yes, I understand the premise, dude. What I'm saying is just you cannot compare Barack Obama to Donald Trump, because Donald Trump is such an aberration, right? Like, you need to pick two presidents who are more closely aligned in the fact.
Fine. Do it with HW and Barack. Sure.
I think the point that Tom is making is that if Obama proposed it, Obama is such a more rational and serious person that...
Are you saying it would be more... Well, okay, so are you saying...
I'm saying that there would be other reasons for people to have different reactions to that than just partisanship, right?
Yeah.
Like, what Tom is saying is that if you're trying to test for partisanship, then you can't just sub in Barack Obama for Donald Trump, because Barack Obama could have perfectly valid reasons for proposing something, whereas Donald Trump would not.
Yeah.
See, I think that's where you're wrong. I think there are no perfectly valid reasons for saying, let's go ahead and just upend the constitutional system, right? That let's violate a constitutional norm.
Okay, you can quibble over that. Like, Ruch, you can quibble over that all you want, but the fact is that your experiment is not controlled.
Well, I don't think it can, and I'm willing to grant you that.
But you can do things to minimize the variables that are causing your test to, you know. That's why I said, you know, compare Clinton to Bush.
Sure, I'm willing to grant that.
You just think
I
the
think that's
Barack
right.
Obama Trump comparison is an equal comparison, and I disagree with that.
Okay, fine. Let's put that aside. I think what we're really trying to figure out is to what extent is partisanship so strong that it appends people's sort of desire and appreciation for constitutional norms.
Sure.
That's the key question here.
Sure.
And so you can ask that about...
And there's certainly going to be a degree of partisanship on both sides, right?
Yeah, and so that's kind of where I was going with the answer to your question to begin with, which was that the first point is what's the amount of partisanship amongst Republicans? And we don't even need to relate it to Democrats. And then how much of it is just sort of a complete
here's the other
ignorance of constitutional
But here's
norms.
the other thing about this survey, right? Like, of all of the prior presidents, this guy is most likely to suggest, hey, let's postpone the 2020 election, right? Like that. It's not just that there are half of Republicans that would consider it and would be in favor of it if Donald Trump suggested it. It's that Donald Trump also is likely to suggest things like that, and that's what's scary.
So, having said all of that, I actually agree with Ruchit.
Maybe we should be in a constant state of existential crisis.
I actually agree with Ruchit. I mean, I really think that this poll just sort of measures Republicans' feelings towards Trump and not Republicans' feelings towards constitutional norms or the sanctity of elections. I would venture that most of the poll respondents don't even know, why we have elections on the what is it, the second Tuesday in November, and why the inauguration is always in January, right? I don't think that most of these respondents have really thought it through. All they know is that Trump suggested something, and they have warm feelings towards Trump. I disagree with Ruchit that you can slot in Barack Obama and run the same thought experiment, but I do agree with Ruchit that really this poll measures partisan feelings and doesn't actually measure people's feelings towards the Constitution.
And it may also confuse the two on top of that, right? Is it may say that, I think exactly what AJ said, which is that it may assume that 50% of Republicans don't give two shits about the Constitution, when in reality, they may not even know the importance of this part of it. And honestly, they may not think that what Trump intends when he says delay the election is what I think we all know he would intend, which is delay and never have it, or delay until he's guaranteed to win it, I think a better question to really assess this would have been something like, if President Trump wanted to be president for life, and wanted to amend the Constitution to do that, would you be supportive?
Yeah. I mean, I agree. It's also not clear to me, do they mean postpone it for a year or postpone it for a month?
Yeah, or 3 days, or what?
I don't know. I don't think it was a good poll, and I don't think it measures the thing that they think it's measuring. I thought this article was very interesting to talk about, but not because that I thought the poll was a good poll. Sorry, Tom, I set you up. And then I knifed you on the podcast.
You did, dude. You did.
Dude.
At 2, AJ?
Yeah, at me.
At AJ on Twitter. At AJ Smolin.
That was pretty good.
Guys, I think I have to go here in a second.
Why?
Well, my dad's in town, so I'm hanging out with my dad. He's going to be here for a few days. If you guys want to go hang out and take a hike with me and my dad and potentially Steph, let me know. I think we're going to do it this weekend.
I got to get on Saturday at lunchtime, I got to get from JFK to Chelsea, and I'm trying to figure out whether to take a cab or the E-train.
Just walk, dude.
Okay.
Just walk.
Ruch?
I would definitely take a Juno.
Before we get too much into the after show, should we do sidebars?
Oh, yeah. I got a good sidebar.
Me too. I got a good sidebar.
Dude, I don't have a good sidebar at
Ruchit,
all.
I'm putting you on the spot. You have to go first.
Yeah, Ruchit, tell us a sidebar.
Okay, so my sidebar is that one of Uber's largest investors is suing Travis Kalanick, the former CEO of Uber.
Is it for sexual harassment?
It's actually not. It's actually not. So here's the allegations. Kalanick acquired a disproportionate level of influence over the board, ensuring that he would continue to have an outsized role in Uber's strategic decision, even if forced to resign as CEO. I mean, don't they realize that they were okay with him appointing the board or choosing the board? I mean, it's kind of but this is sort of nuts though. Uber is just kind of coming apart at the seams, it seems. And as Rishi's always telling us, they're consistently running Groupon promotions and other such things. So I mean,
Groupon is when you know that you're going under. You're posting on Groupon.
It's just tough, if you're trying to hustle customers any way you can, you're like, hey, here's $10 off 20.
Buy one Uber ride, get 10 free.
And get 4 free. That's pretty good. Anyway, so that's my on-the-spot sidebar, because I didn't have a good sidebar, and I'll admit
that was a good sidebar, Ruch. You blew it. You told me you were going to do a bad sidebar, and then you did a good one, and you blew it because you told me a lie.
Okay, you guys want to hear my sidebar?
Yeah, dude.
My sidebar is actually a definition of a word or a phrase, and that phrase is email storm. An email storm is a sudden spike in reply all messages to an email list caused by someone idiotically putting a group of people in the CC and then other people replying all. There's a great Wikipedia article about this because it lists all of the different famous email storms that have happened, including people replying all to 21 million people.
Apparently there was one at Microsoft that was like devastating.
Yes, that was the first one. 1997, a Microsoft employee noticed there was a yet unknown distribution list and emailed the list asking to be removed. This list contained approximately a quarter of the company's employees, 13,000 email addresses. Other users suddenly replied all to the list asking to also be removed.
AJ, what's yours?
Mine is Wet Hot American Summer.
What is that?
That's what I'm asking. What is that?
Is that a Netflix TV show?
Yeah, so Wet Hot American Summer is a film that has since been turned into a TV series on Netflix. And so the original film is very good. It's set on the last day of a summer camp in 1981, and they're almost a lot of the cast is people who are like right on the cusp of being famous. So this was like one of Bradley Cooper's first roles.
Oh wow!
Bradley Cooper missed his high school graduation to film Wet Hot American Summer.
Me too, dude.
Yeah, I know, right? But so it's got like Michael Ian Black, Michael Showalter, David Wayne helped on the project. It's got Elizabeth Banks, who later became famous for Hunger Games, is in it. I got a bunch of SNL cast members like Amy Poehler. So it is a seriously good, funny movie, and they've since made a television show on Netflix. It's in its second season. The first season is set on the first day of that same summer in 1981, and now the second season is called Wet Hot American Summer 10 years later, and it's set in 1991, and there's a 10-year reunion, but Michael Showalter plays Ronald Reagan, and Michael Ian Black plays George Bush, and they both actually do pretty good impressions of their respective people, and it's a good show to watch if you want to watch something that's good and nice to watch. If you don't want to watch something that's nice to watch, then definitely don't watch this.
Cool. I'm watching Rick and Morty.
We're watching Madam Secretary. Fantastic show.
Pickle Rick.
Dude, I wish someone would make me Secretary of State. I think I'm ready. I couldn't do worse than Rex, that's for sure.
You and Julian Castro.
Yeah, dude. Except I'm willing to step up. I'm willing to do it.
Dude, you hate on the Castro brothers so much.
I do. It's I really shouldn't. I just want one of them to run, for office at a statewide level, do something hard, that's outside of their own party first, maybe. I don't know.
Texas is the longest streak in the country for states where a Democrat has not won a statewide election.
I mean, think how awesome it would be if one of them won it.
In a competitive election, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it would be nice if we had competitive elections, wouldn't it?
It would be nice if we had fair and free elections like a real democracy.
Yes, that too.
That were not postponed.
Yeah, and don't postpone the election,
Don't postpone
man.
the election.
Yeah,
Ruch?
I agree. Let's definitely not.
Ruch, you've been postponing election agenda from day one. I don't want to hear this.
I deny that. I want to follow the Constitution. I want to have elections on the second or the first. Is it the first Tuesday or the second Tuesday? First Tuesday. Second Tuesday of November.
Oh, I know what it is. It's not the first or the second Tuesday. It's the first Tuesday after the first Monday in November.
Okay. All right. I mean, I guess I'm okay as long as the elections are held one of the first Tuesdays of November.
Sometime in November. That's all I ask for. I don't even care if it's on a Tuesday or a Wednesday. Just as long as we have an election in November and we elect someone other than Donald Trump, like that's really all I'm asking for, guys.
So what do you guys think? Do you think we are going to be like, let's fast forward a month from now. Are we recording this podcast from a bunker, or are we recording this podcast from the comfort of our own homes?
I'll probably be in Canada.
Tom, have you made plans to flee the country at all?
Nah, dude, I don't have that sweet double citizenship like AJ does.
Dude, you could go to India anytime, dude.
I don't think that's how it works.
Don't you have like a visa to go to India?
I haven't applied for a visa to go to India.
Wait,
no.
Tom, do you need a visa to go to India?
I don't
yeah,
know.
dude. Yeah, you do. The answer to that is yes.
Wait, really?
Yeah, and it's even harder if you
Aren't
are.
you a citizen?
I'm not a citizen of India. No.
I thought you were.
Me.
I thought you were an immigrant.
Yeah. Yeah, but I'm an American now.
Wait, you don't have dual citizenship?
No.
Oh. May I recommend dual citizenship?
India doesn't let you have dual citizenship.
Oh, I don't think the U.S. does either.
Oh. Are you admitting to a problem here, AJ?
Here's my take on things.
Maybe you should just take the fifth, AJ.
So the U.S. like doesn't want you to be a dual citizen. I think. I mean, probably, right? And I get that. But here's my point. I'm going to, like, let's say I wanted to move to Canada. I'm going to show up in Canada, and they're going to be like, oh, did you, like, disavow fealty to Canada? Like, they don't care. Canada's not going to care. They renewed my passport this year. Like, it's fine.
Dude, I hope you edit this stuff out, dude. Like, this is the type of thing that'll get your U.S. citizenship, like, canceled, dude.